State police told us earlier today that receiving a 911 domestic call like this one is their worst nightmare. They say Officer Reed was a hero when he put the public before himself and asked Ray Shetler to put his weapon down. St. Clair Township Police Officer Lloyd Reed was the first officer at this scene Saturday. State police asked for backup when responding to a 911 call where a woman said she had a bloody nose and her boyfriend, Ray Shetler, threatened to kill her and himself.
Officer Reed stepped up to the plate that was notified and went to assist us, along with Officer Dickard. They went there to help us, which that's the bond of brotherhood in our area and pretty much all over the country. When there's distress that's happening, maybe it's not your area, but you're still going to go and try and help.
According to state police, Officer Reed confronted Shetler outside of the New Florence home, demanding that he drop his .270 caliber rifle. That's when police say Shetler moved towards Reed and shots were heard by a second officer that arrived.
When the Seward officer arrived, he was not in a physical position to see Shetler from his location. We are talking, it's 9 o'clock at night, so it's dark.
Police say it's not clear who fired the first shot. Shetler allegedly fired 3 rounds and Officer Reed fired 6 shots. He was wearing a safety vest, but the bullet entered through the side. Police say after firing, Shetler fled on foot and 20 police departments searched for him for 6 hours before catching him. Now, earlier today, state police told us that they did not recover Shetler's rifle. They're asking for the public to be aware. Coming up at 6, we're going to take a closer look at Officer Reed and his years of service to the community. Reporting live in Johnstown, Kelsey Metzger, WTAJ News. We just spoke with a Ligonier Township police officer. He said he's worked with Reed for a number of years, or he's been a friend of him. They actually had plans that night to hang out and just talk as friends and kind of go off of that a little bit. He said, what we've been hearing all week, he's a kind and a gentle person, and he always put everyone else before himself. And you know, this wasn't a day they say that they want to be at, but they need to be at. And that's what we've heard from officers all across the area. We've seen local police, we've seen police officers as well from the Pittsburgh area. We've even seen a few cops from the New York and Chicago area as well, just showing what a strong brotherhood and a sense of community that we have here. Now, I did just speak to a state trooper who told us that there were 300 Pennsylvania state troopers at the service today and well over 1,000 other officers at the service here at the Cambria County War Memorial this morning. And just a moving tribute, as Carolyn mentioned in our coverage earlier, police officers from all over the area. We saw Pennsylvania, Maryland, Chicago, New York, well represented, and they said that they just felt like they needed to be here today because of this brotherhood and because they just need to support one another. It was a very emotional morning. We're told of those 1,000 officers, 300 were state troopers. We found local folks who were personally impacted by Officer Reed in St. Clair Township, as well as officers from out of state like Maryland, New York, and Chicago. You can see in this video the officers lined the street as Officer Reed was brought inside. Those who knew him personally described him as a friendly face in the community. They also say he was passionate about his job. He worked days, nights, weekends, and holidays, always putting the public's safety first.
In District 4, you know, this is like the 3rd one this year for us, and but the response from all the agencies is just overwhelming.
My heart goes out to the St. Clair Police as well as the other police officers and his wife, Mrs. Reed.
Memorial Fund has been set up in Reed's name. If you'd like to contribute, there's information here on your screen. You can also find it on our website, wearecentralpa.com. Live in the newsroom, Kelsey Metzger, WTAJ News. This hearing is still going on at this time, but Ray Shetler Jr. walked into court this morning and he told us he's sorry. Now, as you said, he's accused of killing St. Clair Township police officer Lloyd Reed Jr. and this morning he pled not guilty. Shetler also told us this morning that everyone in Ligonier knows that he could not have done this. We also saw the Westmoreland County District Attorney, the Cambria County Coroner, as well as several officers from the St. Clair Township Police Department walk in today. So far, we have heard the 911 call that was given to Pennsylvania State Police. In this call, you hear the girlfriend, Kristen Luther, in a panicked voice. The officer is trying to get her away from Ray Shetler. She says, all I want is him to be out of this house, and she tells state police that she doesn't believe he will fire his rifle. Now, when Shetler's rifle allegedly goes off, Luther is heard yelling for an ambulance. We also heard from the Officer Reed's backup from Sewerboro Police Department. He told police what happened when he arrived on scene and says he also heard a woman yelling he won't fire prior to shots being fired. fired. Now, as I said, this hearing is still going on at this time, but we will continue to follow it and bring you the latest tonight on WTAJ News. Reporting live from Ligonier, Kelsey Metzger, WTAJ News. This case will go to trial, but before Shetler walked into the courtroom today, he told us he was sorry and said the people of Ligonier know that he could never do this. Now, he pled not guilty to all of the charges, including criminal homicide. His attorney did try to throw out or adjust some of those charges. He asked the judge to consider changing the criminal homicide charge to homicide of a police officer in the line of duty. The defense also wanted the assault charge thrown out, saying there was no victim to testify. During today's hearing, we heard from several witnesses, including one who interviewed Shetler and said he claimed to not have known that Officer Reed was a police officer. We also heard from Officer Reed's backup, a Seward Borough police officer who described that night's events. He testified that he heard Officer Reed tell Shetler to put his weapon down. He also said he could hear Shetler's girlfriend yelling and saying Shetler would not actually fire his rifle just before shots were fired.
I can tell you he's very devastated about this. He knows many officers in the area. He's always been a friend of law enforcement. And this has just really devastated him as the one trooper testified. Mr. Shetler indicated that if he had known it was an officer, he probably would have killed himself.
Now, the judge did rule against dropping any of those charges, especially after the prosecution argued that 911 tape, the call that was made, was sufficient evidence. We got to hear that 911 call earlier today, and we'll bring you more of that tonight at 6. Reporting live, Kelsey Metzger, WTAJ News. Carolyn, Ray Shetler Jr. pled not guilty today. He also told us that the people of Ligonier know that he could never do this. Now, inside the courtroom, one person testified that he interviewed Shetler, and when he did so, Shetler claimed that he did not know Officer Reed was a cop. Earlier today, we did hear the 911 tape that Shetler's girlfriend made, where she asks Ray Shetler, what has he done? Panic is heard on this 911 call from Kristen Luther, Shetler's girlfriend, after he allegedly shoots Officer Lloyd Reed Jr.
Listen, you shot.
In court, this call was played as evidence. In the beginning of the 911 call, the person on the phone tries to calm Luther down after Shetler allegedly assaulted her. The call ends with Luther crying and screaming on the phone, asking if Officer Reed is okay.
I can tell you he's very devastated about this. He knows many officers in the area. He's always been a friend of law enforcement.
Inside the courtroom, an officer from Seward Borough, who was second on the scene, testified that he saw Officer Reed and believed he fired several times. He said it was not clear who fired first, but recounts Officer Reed telling Shetler to put his weapon down. A different witness testified that in interviewing Shetler, he said he did not remember exactly what Officer Reed said or that he had fired 3 times.
This has just really devastated him as the one trooper testified. Mr. Shetler indicated that if he had known it was an officer, he probably would have killed himself.
Now Shetler's case will go to trial. His attorney did try and get some of those charges dropped or changed, but the judge did deny that after the prosecution says that 911 tape that you just heard is a key piece of evidence, and they say they should believe all the charges should stand. Reporting live, Kelsey Metzger, WTAJ News.